Welcome back, gentlemen. Always good to be sitting down with you fine fellows. And this week, we've got some wrestling to talk about as the season gets kicked off on Spooky Night. And it is I think they're calling it the daddy of them all or something like that. Is
The Duel
where
of the Daddy.
Duel at the Daddy. There you go.
So
Uh,
Frontier Days is the granddaddy of
I,
them
I
all.
and I was and that's the thing is I was gonna come to our Wyomingite to give us a little bit more geography on it, with Campbell and Wyoming dueling and getting, and I love the fact that they got the permission to be the first duel of the year and that they're doing it big, and we'll dig into
Yeah.
some of the things Campbell does later, but like, tell us about this venue. I mean, I saw in one of the releases that they weren't even sure if they were going to be selling tickets. Like, is there, like, what can you give us, Mr. Wyoming, about this entire place?
So Cheyenne is the capital. So fun fact, Wyoming, when I left Wyoming, there was less than 500,000 people there.
And how old
So
were
there's
you at
more
this
people.
time?
Uh, I guess I went to college outside of Wyoming because there's only one four-year college in Wyoming. Fun fact. Um,
Learned so much
but
about
when I
Wyoming
moved,
today.
yeah, when I moved to Virginia, there was less than 500,000 people there, and it was a big deal when they finally tipped over that. So there's more people in Richmond than there is in Wyoming, which is interesting. Cheyenne's capital. That's where Frontier Days is. It's huge rodeo, every summer, a couple weeks long. One of the biggest outdoor rodeos in the country, if not the world. It it's a really cool event, and the fact that they're able to have a wrestling match there is going to be just fantastic. Kind of bummed I'm not able to get out there. I'm talking with Coach Branch tomorrow to kind of hype it up a little bit and get his insight on it and talk about how this all came to be. But they've done a fantastic job. The battle at the barn last year was another outdoor duel that they did that was in a barn in Centennial, which is right outside of Laramie where UW is. Um, and it was a really cool event. So I'm glad they're upping the stakes a little bit this year, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love what these two teams have been doing. A lot of playful trash talk on Twitter that we've seen in the past. Branch talking about how's he gonna do his mustache, like what's his look gonna be. I know last year he
But
was
Scotty
all
can't
out.
even grow a mustache, so that's part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like, but I think it's awesome how innovative these teams have been the last couple of years. Campbell is obviously going to be doing a lot more of that. This year, obviously, they're at Wyoming with Frontier Park, but then they're also going to be doing a duel with Nebraska in a couple weeks. It was at November 15th at Jim Perry Stadium. So like, even more innovation coming from Campbell, which is even more so why I think, and this is, more probably a soapbox point for me, but like even more so why we need to get behind everything that Campbell is doing, as it's been announced that, they're going to be losing scholarships and things are not going to be looking good for them with this new rev share thing. And I just had a really great conversation with Valenti, which will be out tomorrow, um, about all that. But man, I love everything that Campbell does. I love how two teams are really coming together over these last couple of years to innovate and market and have really amazing duels. It's something we obviously saw with Iowa and Oklahoma State, but to see how these two teams are coming together and doing it is pretty awesome. Um, what are your guys' thoughts on how teams innovate and how we've seen more teams start to do this? Not just, it probably started with the battle at Kinnick, but now we're starting to see Campbell and Wyoming do this every single year, and it's how they start the season.
And Campbell also had the battle at the Bragg at Fort Bragg in the airplane hangar. Was that last year or
Yep.
2 years ago?
Yeah, they
Two,
were
Which was
surviving
years
that.
also
two
a
years
really
ago,
really
yeah.
cool event.
They
They're
wrestled
working with
Richmond there
UFC Fight
too.
Pass to do all of it too.
And
Yeah.
that was the thing that I was going to hit on is they've gotten that partnership with Fight Pass, and they've really got behind that, and that the funding from that helps a lot to get these venues that otherwise would be kind of unreachable. But just the play to make that happen is huge to get that, trying to fight for the UFC market share, which we may or may not get anything out of, but putting that in front of the eyeballs of that many people who have Fight Pass is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, one thing I did want to highlight because so through Blood Round last year, we followed Wyoming, and I've known Scotty since he was in eighth grade. His older brother wrestled at Michigan and then ended up being at my high school. So long story short, like I followed both of those programs really closely. I was really pumped about the duel. Here's some of the results last year: 16-15 for Campbell, 4-3 for Campbell, 4-2 for Campbell, 9-8 Wyoming, 5-4 Wyoming, 6-5 Wyoming. Like these were really close matches. It was a super exciting duel to watch and be a part of. It was really 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 close back and forth. Looks like it was I think 4-6 as far as like the wins for Campbell over Wyoming.
Mhm.
But I mean, every match was super close. So super exciting. But yeah, I mean, as far as they've done that over the last couple of years. I know UNC hosted Michigan at a ballpark a couple of years ago. I know
Yeah.
Arizona
Yeah,
State
Holmes and
has.
I were both there.
Yeah, we were
There you
there for
go.
that.
Yep.
It was pretty cool. It got really cold.
Yeah, it was chilly.
It got
Well,
really
that's
cold.
that's the thing, right? And I think some of the warmer areas. I know CSU Bakersfield has done outdoor duels previously, and Arizona State I know has done them. In fact, I think there was a ASU CSU one that I'm thinking of maybe specifically off the top of my head.
Stanford does one with
Stanford,
Cal
yeah.
Poly as well.
Mm.
But it's like those are the things that you have to do in order to bring people in, right? And I think if we're going to go back to specifically Campbell, attendance, right? Getting attendance up at events, whether they're home or away or whatever, just like boosting the excitement for everybody. Those are one of the ways that you can show your administration that like you've got support locally, you've got alumni, you've got fans, you've got the things that are going to keep that sport relevant at that institution. And maybe more importantly, depending on who you're talking to, piss them off if you try to take away from it, right?
Exactly.
So, those are the things. I mean, obviously money helps, right? As far as what people can contribute, but if wherever you can contribute, if you're in the area of a program, you should be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Innovation's been
shows,
great.
yeah, it shows the marketability and, how people can be creative and still, bring wrestling to a wider audience maybe and just think outside the box a little bit. I love Campbell for doing that, because they're not really a household name, they're in the 2025 ranking, so they're not a powerhouse by any means, right? But, they're getting eyes on them. People notice their program because of this. And, we talk all the time about marketability, how far it goes. And, I'm always talking to the Philadelphia teams, Penn and Drexel. Why aren't you guys doing? You guys are going to wrestle, but
Hmm.
if you do wrestle, let's wrestle at the top of the Rocky Steps of the art museum.
Yeah.
Something
We're in one of the
really cool like
cheesecake
that.
places.
Yeah, outside
Battle
the
for the
cheesecake
cheesesteak
places.
trophy.
Yeah, I mean, like stuff like that can happen, but it just takes two teams, I think, to get together and do it.
Yeah, that would be dope. Drexel and Penn in front of the Rocky statue or like on the Rocky steps. There's definitely enough room up there for a mat. Definitely enough room
Yeah,
up
there
there for
is.
some chairs and stuff. I
Yeah,
don't know
Kevin
what the
McGuigan is the honorary ref.
Yeah, hey, listen, I don't know
Yeah.
what the
So
logistics of it would be, but I think that would be honestly dope and a really cool atmosphere. They need to hit up UFC Fight Pass and see what they could do to make that happen. But yeah, just like the marketability of these different teams, and I posted that clip the other day of Scott Goodale when I talked to him, where he's talking about selling tickets and like if it's July 14th, you need to be selling tickets, you need to be marketing, you need to have a fan base, and they have an amazing fan base at Rutgers that fills that gym. But he mentioned, they're even though they have an amazing fan base, they're not a team that kind of has it baked in. They're not an Oklahoma State. They're not an Iowa. They're not Penn State. So for them to get a little bit more creative and to bring fans in and to create an atmosphere with new and innovative ways of putting it in front of maybe the students. We did a trip to Duke years ago, and Duke had and this was I think Casper's senior year, and they had a practice out on like their greenway in front of the
Mhm.
chapel. So like they were just trying to get it in front of people. And matter of fact, I actually saw Zion Williamson walk by on his way to class. So I can say that the man did go to class. And he was at Duke. I saw him there when
Dude,
I was
kids
there.
going to class.
Right. But it was a way of getting that out in front of the students. It was a way of just like showcasing, hey, like there's more sports here than basketball. So like I love what they're doing. I think it's going to be an awesome duel. Kevin, you alluded to how close those matches were last year. This year, there's what, three ranked versus ranked matchups. And I want to talk about the first one, 125. obviously, we're gonna lean more towards Volk on this one, but him versus Moulton at 125, that could be a really, really good one because Moulton's a guy that
Mhm.
probably wants to come out and make a name for himself a little bit more, right? People know who he is, but he comes out and he sparks a little something, beating Volk, like that'd be huge. That'd be really, really big. What do you guys think of the right off the bat? 125 is gonna be fireworks.
I'm going to jump in just because I remember watching it last year. It was wild. It was a ton of scrambles. It was super exciting. And you could almost feel like Volk was getting frustrated because he would almost get the takedown and then Moulton would scramble in, or then they'd kind of get back in neutral and all of a sudden he'd be on the leg and it was very, very exciting. I mean, the 12-5 final score was not indicative of how close the match really was. At the end of it. But it was an exciting match, and Moulton is a guy who's beaten some of the better guys in the country. He's right there. I mean, did he beat? He was Ramos's teammate, right? And he beat him last year. Or am I thinking of somebody else?
I can't remember.
I think that's all true. We're gonna go with that.
Yeah, let's go
But
with it.
Yeah,
yeah,
that sounds right.
but like I'm using that as an example of like a top level guy that he's competed against. While
Yeah,
you
he's a
guys talk, I'm
scrapper,
gonna look
man.
that up real quick.
Yeah, he's a scrapper. I like Moulton a lot. I like how he wrestles. I like how he, comes out and goes at guys. And like you said, it may have been 12-5, but there was a lot of action in that match. And I expect for there to be more action again, right? So guys, chime in. Austin, Robbie, what do you think of this first match, like right off the bat?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. Volk was All-American last year, so I think a little bit of a target on his back from Moulton and, just the whole Campbell squad coming in. You definitely think they're gonna have a little extra motivation after this, the unfortunate stuff that's going on there. I think
Yeah.
they want to prove it that, hey, we belong, we deserve to have this wrestling squad and all these scholarships and everything going on there, So I think Moulton and the whole fighting Campbells are come out fighting.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those times where I'm not always a fan of starting duels at 125 and just going through in order. I think it can definitely take away from the showmanship of a duel. But this is one of those duels where I think it should start at 25 because this, we could have fireworks to start off the duel. Um, and kind of like you hit on earlier, both these teams are just going to throw it all out there. They're not going to come in and be timid and not try to go after points. So it should be, a great match to showcase right off the bat.
Yeah, these teams are definitely a product of their coaches, right? Like
Yeah.
their coaches, as we've seen, they're gonna talk trash. They've been talking trash. The marketing of, like you said, what kind of style is Branch gonna come out with a mustache and a hat? And I think he was wearing chaps and stuff last year. Like it got serious and they go full costume. And with this being on Halloween,
Mhm.
there's definitely going to be some character play, and I think it's going to be awesome. It seriously is a great concept, and I love what these guys are doing again. The next one, and I know I'm kind of skipping around, but I'm just going to the ranked versus ranked matchups, is the one at 197, and it's Levi Hopkins and Joey Novak. Those are the two guys that we have ranked. Novak is 16, and Hopkins is 19. Another ranked matchup, and then obviously at heavyweight, Gadali and Mitchell. Gadali coming in at number 7 and Mitchell at 25. So, not as close as the 197-pound match, but still like these are ranked versus ranked matchups. These guys are in the top, what, 33 for a reason, 32 for a reason. And they're guys that we think will be in that final bracket of the year, and it takes a lot to get there. So, what are your guys' thoughts on these other two ranked versus ranked matchups? And are there any other matchups that you guys have taken a look at that you have noticed will be kind of good, or anything that's kind of stood out to you guys?
I
I
was going
want
to
to
say, it
first
feels like,
clarify Anthony
oh, go
Moulton
ahead.
and Matt Ramos were high school teammates. That's
There
what
you
I
go.
was thinking of. And it was a
Mm.
10-6 match, so very close. Sorry. I knew I
Oh,
wasn't
you're
crazy.
good. My thought process was that I feel like Hopkins has been around forever and he's in his 6th year at Gardner Webb. He's a two-time qualifier. I believe he also had a brother, Caleb,
That's
Caleb
true.
Hopkins, who wrestled there as well. They're both Alaska guys too, correct? Is that
Yes, that is also true.
so? Just kind of cool
Wow.
backstory, not not a typical path from Alaska to Bowie's Creek, North Carolina.
Yeah.
So kind of a cool thing. Um, he had a good match with, I don't remember if it's him or Caleb. Now that I'm thinking they're both brothers, with Michael Bautista when they wrestled UVA a couple years ago. It was a really good back and forth match.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those guys are really good on top. Those Hopkins brothers.
I like
We used
I
to
like the
wrestle in
idea.
salmon. They got it.
I like the idea that Robbie was saying about starting at 125 because you got a ranked match up there to start, and then at the end, 97 heavyweight, two ranked guys. So I think that's a good starting spot, Robbie. I think you should talk to Coach Branch about that tomorrow.
Yeah, because they're
Most
like
of
you
our
said,
time is
this
going to be talking about mustaches. That's my plan.
this is
Understandable.
a non-traditional, so they might not start at 25, right? They might start at 33 and have that match be last as many fireworks as there were in it last year.
Yeah.
But I am Gadali is a guy that I am very interested in seeing this year. I saw him a couple of years ago for the first time, and he was still a very green heavyweight, wasn't even ranked at the time. But they were really excited about what he was bringing, and he showcased some footwork and everything else, and he wrestled very well. But ever since then, he continues to jump levels, and now obviously he's in the top 10, and I think he's going to have a big year. I can see him, knocking off some guys that are above him, climbing in the rankings a little bit, and being on the podium at the end of the year. So that's not to say that Mitchell can't give him a good run, but man, it's going to be Gadali's a tough out this year. He definitely, not to say that he wasn't last year, but it's going to be even tougher for guys up against Gadali this year.
Well, you look at his growth. He started, he's 500 as a freshman. He's a four-time national qualifier, broke through to make the podium last year. Went from 7-7 as a freshman to 35-6 last year. Like his growth is outstanding.
Yeah, he's been awesome. The first time I saw him was at the Chippewa Challenge his freshman year, and it came down to heavyweight. And I believe that was the year. I think that was Stencil's 5th year. And so it was like, sweet, you got Matt Stencil against the freshman heavyweight. Like, sweet. It went into overtime. It ended on a stall call against Gotti Ali there. And yeah, we, Chippewa's got the win. But I was like, damn, this dude's like pushing him for real. He's athletic enough to hang with him. He's big enough to hang with him. And
he was undersized too back then.
Right, exactly. So yeah, he's just gotten better every single year, and obviously, if you've heard any of his interviews, he talks about how Campbell, he credits a lot of, not just his success on the mat, but outside, in the classroom and everything else to the foundation and the program and the staff. So good stuff there.
He actually had a really cool interview about his spiritual growth too. That's definitely worth the listen if you guys have a chance to listen to that.
So who are we taking in this duel? Who we got? Campbell or Wyoming?
Powder River, Wyoming.
No surprise there. Go figure. Robbie has a homer pick.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Just wait till the other ones we talk about.
So I'm going Wyoming though too, and I think the main reason is again, I watched that program.
Not just because you lived there.
No, well, I watched the program all the last year, and I was pretty dialed in. And a lot of the guys they had in the lineup at the beginning of last year weren't in the lineup at the end of last year. They had a lot of a whole different crew of people getting in there, a lot of improvement. I think I still have the results up here. Hold on real quick. Yeah, so Gabe Willishow was one of the guys who won, but there was a lot of guys changing spots in the lineup and getting opportunities. I know you already talked about him, but Joey Novak was an undersized 197 last year. I know that was a big focus of what they were going to be doing with him over the summer. And he's only going to be that much more confident having, made the tournament last year and everything else.
Yeah. Austin, who you got?
I like the orange and black and Campbell.
Go figure. Another homer pick. For those who don't know, those are Austin's high school colors. He's wearing right now.
What a coincidence.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Campbell as well. I'll make it an even split, and I'll go with Campbell as well. And we'll go 2-2 on that one. And I think Campbell gets it done this year. So, yeah. Plus, like I said, I like Adali. I like the heavyweight. I've liked his ascension. So I'm gonna go with that. That will be my reasoning. Is I'm a big fan of the big guy coming from the Camels. Um, the other matches that we have are happening on Friday. I know there's a ton of matches. I mean, obviously it's the first week. Lots of teams that are going to be in action. I think Indiana is headed out to California. They have two duels out there in California. But the two duels, the two other ones that I have marked are North Dakota State versus Virginia at Virginia, and then Utah Valley at Stanford. And not wearing this because of that, but we talked about
Yeah.
Adam
Who are
Hall.
you picking, Ryan?
I honestly might go with Utah Valley. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. Haven't decided yet. But no, honestly, like we had talked about how we couldn't wait to see what they were going to do at Utah Valley, right? They have Claw there, new coaching staff that we're really excited to see. And then it's also, I mean, fairly new coaching staffs on both ends. So I'm interested to see the growth in a full year for the guys at Stanford, especially with new guy Hayden Hidley being there as well for Ayers and Gray and those guys. But then the new coaching staff of Utah Valley to see the kind of work that has already been put in and where they are at this point in the season compared to where they were last year, right? Adam Hall is a guy that is a developmental specialist, right? We've seen him at NC State for a very long time, do really well with recruiting, do really well with developing guys that he was in the corner for. So, and not only that, he's a guy that makes you want to buy into the program because he just speaks life into it, right? Like you talk to Adam Hall and you're just like, this is a guy that I would want to wrestle for. And that's, no way could Claw pass that up when he was looking to transfer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that just speaks to it. So, that's the first match I want to talk about. What are your guys' thoughts on Utah Valley at Stanford too? And it's a late one for them. I mean, in California, it's at 10 o'clock. I think it's a 10 o'clock match. For us here, or at least you guys on the East Coast. It's a 7 o'clock match for them. But what are your guys' thoughts on this match, and what are you excited to see?
Hunter Garvin and Bearclaw to kick off the season. That's fantastic. Like you're an All American in Hunter Garvin. You have un not unknown because we know what his potential is, but
Yeah.
some unseen potential from Bearclaw into a new program. I think that's a hell of a way to kick it off.
Yeah, that's going to be a very good match.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I mean,
excited just to see what Coach Hall can do there, being new with a new staff and obviously it's going to take some years for that program to develop, but he comes out against Stanford, who's a pretty well-known ranked entity, right? We kind of know what they are, but still pretty new on their end. Chris Ayers got there about a month ago, or sorry, a year ago now, and just kind of finished up some new hires there. And it's still a little bit of an unknown, but we know Stanford of an overall product is set in stone pretty much. But Utah Valley, if they come away with winning two, three, maybe four matches out of there, I think that's a good showing for Utah Valley.
100%. I mean, it's exciting for both programs. Year two, and really, we just kind of closed out year one of Ayers, like you said. And both of these coaches and staffs are really just trying to get their guys to completely buy into the system at this point, still, right? I mean, even a year in, I'm sure there's still guys who are like figuring it out and figuring out what the expectations are going to be long term at Stanford. And you saw those guys had a lot of success at the end of last year too.
Mhm.
So they've got enough of a leg to stand on for sure.
Yeah, I mean that match at 65. I mean Garvin number 3, Bearclaw number 7, like top 10 matchup to start the season. That's amazing, right? That's awesome. That's not something that you really get because in the new world of sports, you have, I mean, in basketball, you've got load management and a little bit of it creeped into the wrestling world over the last couple of years where you've seen guys sit out, right? A lot of people were really upset with Cornell doing that up against Iowa State last year, right? And it's not to throw any shots at Gray, but he said that his guys got hurt, and they had gotten dinged up in the previous matches. Well, that's really unfortunate, but I love the fact that I mean, they're putting it on the line early, and to see Barraclaw in the lineup consistently for the first time in his career is also going to be amazing because everybody has had him pegged to be an All-American for a very long time. So I think that match is going to be really, really good. Not, not too familiar with the rest of the guys in the lineup as of yet.
33 and 41 should both be pretty good matchups.
Yeah.
Tyler Knox will be a first-year starter for Stanford. He's got Case Mauger. And Jason Miranda's longtime starter for them, but should, I think, make some strides this year in Hayden Drury. That should be a pretty good match as well.
Should be fun. So we going homer picks or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking
Nothing
Stanford.
against that there because I love Adam Hall. And I think he's going
Yeah.
to do a hell of a job at Utah Valley, but he
It's
inherited a
just his
team
first duel.
yeah, he's got to build. And this is the, first step for him. But I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be scrappy. That's just kind of how he rolls.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm taking Stanford as well.
Yeah, that's the pick.
Yeah. Agreed.
That is the pick. The other one, like I said, was North Dakota State at Virginia. And I mean, basically another fairly new coach. I mean, I think Obi has been there for
3 years.
a couple of years now, right? So it's been a
No,
little bit.
last year was his first year.
This last first year as a head coach.
I thought it was the second
Yeah.
last.
No, last year was definitely his first year
yeah.
as a head coach. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I remember getting on the phone with him, a year ago. So yeah, he's another basically a new regime. He's been there for quite a while, obviously as an assistant, but he's been the head
That's
honcho
right.
now for a little bit. But Robbie, give us the lowdown on Virginia. Where are their strong points? Who are some of the guys that they're looking to see really step up, and what are the expectations?
Well, first off, I'm pretty pumped because I'm going to be there. Our travel schedule changed for this weekend, and I initially wasn't going to be able to go. So I'm pretty happy that I'll get to see that.
There you
I was
go, supporting in person, just what we were talking
look how
about.
that works. I sent a message to my wife about it earlier today to let her know. And they're not holding in their typical gym; they're holding it at the Aquatic and Fitness Center where their pool is. And that's where our kids did swimming lessons. So I was like, the duel is going to be at the pool. She said, they're wrestling in a pool. I said, well, that'd be fucking awesome. But no, they're not wrestling in the pool. It's in the
No, that's
gym next
water
to it.
polo.
Yeah, no. But it should be a really fun duel. They're both, they had a really tight duel last year in North Dakota. Return of the favor coming out here. They're going to do an early duel on Friday. So I might have to sneak out of work early if any of my employers see this. I have an appointment. But yeah, it's 4 o'clock duel. Should be pretty competitive, honestly. And then both of them are packing up and going down to the Southeast Open on Saturday. So should be a fun one. As far as what to watch for, kind of what I've been hitting on is the lightweights for UVA are really going to be in flux throughout this first semester. There's going to be a lot of late in the game kind of weight changes. Just guys who they thought were going to be able to be down to a certain weight and aren't going to be able to get there. So they're just shifting some things around. But at the wrestle offs last week, super impressed with Kevion Roller getting all the way down to 25. He's going to be super dangerous. He's really, really quick at 25. So starting off early, that should be good. Kind of looking through as far as good matches. Kyle Berwick, Marlon Yarbrough will be a fantastic match if it happens. I'm not sure if Mo is going to go or if we'll see Cody Goodwin's boy, Gable Porter, who won the wrestle off last week. So that should be a good match there. There's nothing that really stands out as a super, high caliber match, but they're all pretty evenly matched up as far as kind of, where they would fall in rankings. So it should be just a tight duel overall and should be really competitive.
And it's in a pool.
Yeah, it's in a pool. So you got that for you.
There's an added element to it.
We'll see who can tread water the best.
Yeah, I'm on WrestleStat here, Robbie, and it says North Dakota State 19-13 over Virginia, or whatever that's worth. But that's one match that
Hmm.
could go either way. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. It's going to be pretty close toss up here, and I like 33, as you said, Berwick and Yarborough. If Yarborough does go, I think that's the highlight match, at least in my eyes.
41 will be sneaky good too, because it's not going to be Jack Geoffrey because he's moving up to 49 most likely. It'll probably be Kyron Butler and Kellen March, which should also be a pretty good match. Butler got a pin when he was up like 16-3, I think, in his wrestle off. So that should be a fun one too. I was super impressed. A guy to watch out for this year is Rocco Contino at 74. He's a Buchanan guy out of California. He's kind of been injured throughout his time in Charlottesville and is finally healthy. And I think he's going to have a good season. So that's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I was watching Garland's recap, and he was pretty high on him and his ability to compete in there during the wrestle off. So
Yeah, he looked really good.
anybody who doesn't like follow Virginia wrestling, you totally should, because when Garland jumps on there, he's just a ball of energy, super passionate, and always posting good stuff and giving updates. So they're a fun program to follow.
You also come away like bruised in your midsection anytime you talk to him because he's like constantly shaking you and punching you in the side.
Is it like
He's
is it
he's a
like
very
when
hyped
you
up
see
guy.
John Reeder? Is it anything like that, or is it?
Yeah, but Reader's like 3 Garlands.
Yeah, Reeder does not know how strong he is.
He's a
And
large
What's
he's
up,
human
big
too.
dog?
he's
Yeah.
super excited all the time. Yeah, that's rough. The next duel I want to see the ACC and EIWA sit here and argue because it's Navy versus Pitt and it happens on Saturday, and I would like to know what are the matches that you guys have your eyes on and fight it out. Honestly, see an argument. So have at it, Austin, Robbie. I want to listen to the guys that cover these conferences. What are your
Let's see what
thoughts
we
on
got.
Navy versus Pitt?
Well,
Let
Navy
me look at
snuck away with the
this.
win last year.
Yeah, they've had some tight duels.
They started off. I was talking to Coach Colot about it. They started off I think 6 or 7-0, and they lost like 4 or 5 straight to come
Mhm.
second semester. So I think he's still not according to him, he's not changing his schedule. He's not going to let that affect it. I think they had some injuries and maybe might tweak the training a little bit, but the schedule, he's still going at it. Obviously, wrestling, a top 25 team in Pitt right off the bat is evidence to that. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. I think. Obviously, I'm going to take Navy, but just because they won again last year, I think 41 is one to look out for. Coder Hunt and Navy is round of 16 guy, and Pitt probably has Santaniello in there. He
Yeah,
was
he's
formerly, I don't know if it was him or his cousin was formerly at Navy.
brother.
And his brother, yeah, his brother
Yeah.
was there. So yeah, maybe
Um,
some bad blood between those two.
yeah, no, I think you got the Centennials back to back. Vinny at 33 and Anthony, who's going to be was starting as a redshirt freshman. He redshirted last year at 41. Vinny was at prep school at Navy before he transferred to Pitt, and it was like a 500 season last year. Had some injuries he battled through, but super. Both of them have a ton of potential and could be really really good. 41 is definitely one to watch. I mean, you definitely favor Coder Ant there. Another one to keep an eye on as we're looking through. Last year was a really good match. Luca Augustine and Danny Wask
Just
at
gonna say that.
74.
And I was just looking at two.
Yeah, Luca's somebody I've been super high on. He just hasn't broken through yet. And talking with Gavin is that's a guy that he's really high on this year. And he said he's making the changes he needed to make to get to the next level. So I'm excited to see if he's able to do that. And he's going to have a tough test right off the bat.
And those two split matches last year throughout the season. So this will be a
Yeah.
good rubber match for him.
Yep. Um, yeah, I think I would highly favor Pitt and especially at the upper weights. I think Stout and Pitts are both pretty solid and they're gonna do some big things. I'd give Reese Heller the edge at 84, just experience wise. It's his 5th or 6th year. He transferred from Hofstra, so he'll be in his final season there. So I would definitely favor Pitt in this one. Um, WrestleStat doesn't have it very close. I would give the edge of the lighter weights to Navy, and then at the upper weights to Pitt. But I think it could be it's been a competitive duel the last couple of years, so I would expect that again this year too.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pitt's the favorite on paper. I think it's at Pitt this year, right? So maybe a little home field advantage too. But I got to stick with Navy. You know, they beat them last year. They tend to start off really hot. Um, yeah, I think Navy's going to come away with it and might be an
Because
upset,
they're so
you know, on
excited to be
paper.
off the boats.
There we go. You know, are they taking the river up and getting off at the at Pitt there?
Yeah, how about a not tying competition, guys?
Oof.
Change the game. I'm gonna jump in too. I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh just because Keith Gavin beat Steve Luke in the NCAA finals, and that's not easy to do. So
If you ever have the experience of feeling Keith's arm drag, it's not pleasant at all. I don't recommend it. It's not very fun on the shoulder joints.
well now I have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did a clinic for me one year when he was coaching at UVA, and I got to be his practice dummy. And 4 shoulder surgeries later, mine don't work very well, and I was definitely feeling that for the next couple of days.
Sounds like it was a good time.
Yeah, except for me. Good time was had by all except for me.
Kids learned a lot. Did it for the kids.
Oh, okay. So we've
Who you
got a
picking,
little
Holmes?
bit. I gotta put my pick in. I'm gonna go Navy. And I'm going off of last year's how things went last year. I think with I think Navy, as you said, Robbie, they're gonna be favored in the lower weights. And I think there's gonna be like maybe one or two bonus point wins. That's the difference that kind of tips the scale in Navy's favor. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my thought on the whole ordeal. And then the next one we've got is a all Big 12, and it's kind of surprising to see teams wrestling each other like a conference duel to start the season. Missouri, Northern Colorado. This is going to be pretty good. There's some really good ranked matchups in this one. I mean, right off the bat at 125, you have a ranked matchup again, right? Steve O'Pullen, who had a really down year last year. It was a very awkward time where I mean he went from winning Big 12s the year before to I don't even know did he even really place? I think he made his NCAAs with like a bid, right?
I think he ended up getting like sixth or something.
Yeah, it was not
Because
pretty.
we just talked about this the other day, and I was looking up Tanner Jordan at the Big 12s, and I think he ended up not doing great.
So yeah, it can
We
definitely
lost to
be.
Terrakina and Jet Strickenberger at the Big 12s last year. He made the round of 12 last year, though. So, I mean, he
Yeah,
ended on not the best note, but certainly didn't have a bad performance in NCAAs.
it was
Yeah.
close to a really good note.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got Noah Certain. Certain obviously comes in ranked 16th, and we've seen Certain have like really good matches, but we've also seen him do kind of the same thing that Steve-O did last year too. So it's a matter of which one of these guys has shook those ghosts away, got rid of the cobweb, so to speak, and comes out ready to wrestle. Um, Obviously, it favors Poulin with him being ranked higher, but if if everything is working for certain, he's really tough to beat. But I'm really interested to see if the Steve-O Poulin we saw at Big 12s is now gone, and it's the Steve-O that we saw at Big 12s the year prior. But no, I think this is going to be a really good match, a really good duel. There's a couple other obviously ranked matchups, but the return of Alirez, I think, is going to be awesome to see. See how he is back on the folk style mats. It's obviously been quite a while. He's got Josh Edmond, who's a top 15 guy, so pretty fairly good test to start things off with a guy that is ranked. But as I said, it's been all freestyle for him for a very long time. And obviously there's not much of a difference between freestyle and folk style. It's still the basically the premise and moves, but it's different when it comes to control. It's different when it comes to positioning and things like that too. So I'm interested to see how he transitioned back into the folk style ranks of things. Um, and then obviously it's going to be our first time seeing Keegan O'Toole up at 174 as well. So um, obviously those are the guys that everybody is most likely going to be watching and seeing how they do first time in the lineup with, as I said, Alira is coming back, and then um, Keegan O'Toole being up at 174 for the first time as well. Even though we did just see him at the trials being up, a little bit different now, a little bit, that he's going to be in the lineup and having to make that weight for the first time too. What are some of the things that you guys are looking for? I'm taking Missouri in this one, but what are some of the things that you guys are looking for in this match?
I mean, on paper, Northern Colorado is favored in 4 of the first 5 matches. I think, 57, you have Vinny Zervin, was he second seed last year NCAs, and I think he was around 12 or something, right? So looking to redeem himself there. And 41, like you said, Alirez, 33, Serrano over Moore. I mean, that's a toss up, but Serrano a little bit highly more ranked. And we talked 125, but
Oh, I forgot
um,
about Moore. He's back.
yeah, after what a stabbing of some sort, last
Yeah,
year,
there
Just
was some
issues.
lot of blood
craziness
there.
that went on last year.
I'm
Hopefully
glad
all
Yeah,
those
he's
I
wounds
had
are healed.
completely
yeah.
forgotten about that.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm excited to see Adam Busiello back. He ended up
That's
at
what I
Northern
was just gonna
Colorado.
say.
Yeah.
He was, committed to Penn State as like an 8th grader, and then Arizona State and this and that. And now he's here. So love to see how
Huge
he turns
recruit.
out. If he's a full size 149 pounder, what that's gonna look like. But they could potentially sweep the first 5 and make it interesting.
Yeah, very, very
Yeah, I
true.
mean, Luciello was a huge recruit, committed to Penn State, um, was there for a year. I didn't remember him actually competing there, but
Yeah.
then community college for a couple of years, and then North Carolina, then now North Colorado now. So he's been kind of all over. Be very interesting to see what he looks like. Um,
Yeah, he did a
he's got the
year of,
potential.
like you said, he was at community college. I talked to him last year when he committed to go to Northern Colorado and just talked to him about what what those years were like. And I think he was training with, was it Gregor Gillespie, and just trying to put in the work, right? And now he's had a year being back in a lineup and being back in a college room. And so it certainly will be interesting to see him now that he has kind of his legs back under him as well. That's a good stat, or at least a good anecdote of Busiello back in the lineup too.
And he'll have Logan Geoffrey, who was a qualifier last year and is the brother of the two Geoffrey, the twin brothers who are at UVA. Um, so Logan will that'd be a good match. I mean, he's got some talent.
Yeah, I know that they do a really good job of developing talent there at Northern Colorado too. I mean, when when the guy who ends up winning an NCAA title drops down to your weight class, it's kind of tough to want to stick around. But like they had guys like Moshe Schwartz who ended up transferring to Oklahoma as well. They've done a good job developing talent, so it's not just the Alirez show. Um, I do think, yeah, probably Missouri's favored to win the duel overall, and I think likely will. But yeah, Northern Colorado, everything they've done over the last several years, 100% needs to be, commended. 5 years ago, we would have been like, okay, shut out, sweet, moving on. Like we wouldn't have
Yeah,
talked about this.
exactly.
So
Yeah, it's the back half that I think Missouri can pick up some ground. Austin, as you said, Northern Colorado was favored in those first couple of matches, so they're gonna have to. I'm looking bonus points at 174 and probably a couple more of those heavier weights. But man, it is going to be a very good duel. And like I said, I am surprised that they would want to face off this early in the season because most teams aren't doing any in conference dual meets. That, I mean, there might be some others obviously, but not of this caliber, right? Where you have such like very good development teams that are in development facing off this early. What are your guys' picks? Like I said, I took Missouri. What are you guys thinking?
Mizzou.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be too much for Mizzou up top. And speaking of up top, 165, Clayton Olray making a appearance at Northern Colorado after being at Virginia Tech. So good to see him land
Yeah,
there too.
we'll see. I mean, this kid has a lot of potential who never
Yeah.
really broke through that next level at Tech.
I feel like
Um,
he was in between weights a little bit too. Like couldn't really find
yeah, he bounced between
exactly
57 and
right. I don't
65.
know.
Him and Connor Brady kind of going back and forth. Um, he's a nice kid. You'd like to see him have a successful year. Um, Definitely going to go with Missouri, but the fact that the UNC heavyweight's name is Remington is pretty awesome. So
Remington
shout out to that
Steel.
guy. Remington Peterson.
Ah,
Close though.
Yeah, we probably got to make an all name team, don't we? I just saw a basketball all name team the other day.
Yeah, that was amazing. That
Yeah.
graphic.
Yeah. The one guy's name is Tennessee Rainwater. Pretty
sounds like a
There's something
great
awesome.
to it
song
too.
name too.
Pretty awesome. Yeah. Anyway, back to wrestling. Um, Iowa and Oregon State. And this is pretty awesome, honestly, that these two teams are wrestling and that Iowa is traveling to Oregon State, mind you. This isn't something that's going down at Carver. Normally, you have a team like Oregon State, nothing against Pendleton, but you have a team like Oregon State traveling to these blue collar schools, right? These schools that have these immense fan bases. So the fact that Iowa would be like, no, we're going to start off our year, we're going to travel to Oregon State. And Pendleton talked the other day about how what was it? They wrestled, what was it, Penn State last year, I think, and they did huge numbers. And their ADs are like, we got to do it again. We got to make this happen again. So, you know, speaking of marketing and doing all those things, this is another one that these teams are marketing the bigger duels and the bigger fan bases as they bring them into town. It's, another reason why we've seen Lehigh do the things that they're doing. When Penn State comes, they're going to be a PP&L center, right? So like just having the smaller teams, making sure that they're marketing the correct way when you are bringing in a top 5, top 10 team. So, but this is going to be great. I love everything that Pendleton has been doing. Him and Nate, obviously really, really great coaches. And those guys, they have been developing guys very, very well. My favorite guy on their team is Matt Olgin, and I'm not even going to shy away from it. When I met Matt Olgin when he was a tiny little 103, 106 pound freshman at Buchanan, and those guys out there, the Terrapellis and Gabe Flores, were saying he's going to be the next whatever, right? He's going to be awesome. He goes on to do the great things that he did in California, and now he's at Oregon State, with another California coach in Pendleton. And I love the development that he's been able to do over the years, not just when he was in high school and growing into, the kid that he is now, because he's enormous, but just being a really good college wrestler as well. And what's been awesome to see is how he's grown and how he's really started to develop. So I'm always looking out for Matt Olgin, and he's a guy I always want to see do really, really well. But overall, I love this duel. Like I said, I love that Iowa is taking the trip, and that Oregon State is marketing the way that they are, and trying to fill the Coliseum.
I mean, 197 is worth the price of admission. That's going to be a fantastic matchup. Trey Munoz and Stephen Buchanan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Multiple time All-Americans going after each other. So that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, and with Munoz bumping up to 97, I'm excited to see how he's going to do against a guy who's had his career there and is clearly the 197 full sized candy bar version of it, right? Halloween
Yeah.
style. But
You got to
yeah,
think that when they scheduled this one, specifically Pendleton, when Pendleton went out and got this one, he had 197 in mind. Whether it was Glazier or whether it was Buchanan, he definitely said, I want to make sure that Trey is getting the competition that he wants. Obviously, that's the guy that you are building your program around. So you're going to go out and you're gonna get these top guys for him to take on. So man, I love that. I love that match. I think it's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see how Munoz steps up and to a guy that is higher ranked than him. I think it's honestly a pretty even duel, or excuse me, a pretty even match, even though they're what 2-7. So, but I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to come down to 1 or 2 points in that match, right? It's a takedown, it's an escape, it's a reversal, it's something, it's within a takedown that I think that this match happens. Um, any other matches that are sticking out to you guys?
I mean,
I
if
think you hit
I'm
it. Ogin and Caliendo will be a big one.
Yeah.
I was just looking at 174 real quick. I mean, Gabe Arnold has been a super freak, so I don't expect it to necessarily be particularly close. But Oregon State does have a guy in Sean Harmon, senior, ranked in there. It's not going to be a walkover for Gabe by any means.
Yeah, and that's the thing is Gabe Arnold being in the lineup now, or at least slated to be in the lineup, is, I mean, last week the ranking said it was Kennedy that was ranked, and now this week, Earl switches it. So there's got to be some indication there that says that it's Gabe Arnold's world that we're living in at this point. So very interesting to see how Iowa handles their logjam with Brands, Kennedy, and also Gabe Arnold in that 74-84 weight class. And then, I mean, also obviously he's redshirting, but you have a Ferrari that's in your lineup there too, who said that he was going to be out to get everyone at 174 or whatever, coming in as a freshman. But let's be serious. There's some big dogs in front of you that need to eat before you do, to put it frank. But man, I am very high on Gabe Arnold. Had a chance to see him up close when he was in high school, and obviously everything that he was able to do wrestling in those couple of duels and then wrestling in some of the opens last year. Can't wait to see what he does.
I'm interested to see just this Iowa lineup that's so new overall. I mean, there's one person returning from the weight class they were at last year. When's the last time that's happened at Iowa? Right. I always up to 33, and then Teamer is a transfer, Parco transfer, Buchanan, just going down the line. There's not only one person from last year is at the same weight class as which is very rare, I think, in all
And
of college wrestling, let alone Iowa.
and Keeter's in the lineup now too, right? And he
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
full year of focusing on nothing but wrestling. So
Yeah.
that's an even bigger thing too, is him and Gabe Arnold were that 1-2 tandem coming in where everybody had very high hopes for them. And each of them will definitely be getting the chance to step up and be in the lineup and have even more of a say in each one of their weight classes. Instead of just talking big, they'll have a chance to actually get out there and do it. Mind you, I hope that they do bump Gabe Arnold up this year for the Penn State duel, even though they sat him last year. I mean, it would be awesome to see him. Let's back up some of the talking that was done.
Yeah, we're talking trash. It's got to amount to something,
We put our big
Speaking of
boy
that, we get
pants
Stem
on.
at Ferrari this weekend.
We do. We do.
Yeah, we do.
That's right.
That should be fun. The trash talk.
With all the emojis on the line.
All all the emojis on the line.
Does that include the Emoji Movie? That's a good movie. I don't want to lose that.
Might be the most dad thing you ever said.
It also
The
might be
Emoji
the
Movie
most
was a good movie.
It also might be the most recent and relevant reference I've ever made here. So
That is true.
let's focus on the positives, Robbie.
Kevin, I'm just
I made
does your shirt have a cape on it?
Yes, it does. Yes, I'm disappointed that you guys didn't dress up. I told you I was going to. It was either this or a Rey Mysterio mask, and I was like, I'll wear this the whole time. I probably wouldn't wear the Rey Mysterio mask.
I did not realize, and I'm like, and I thought it was the chair at first. And as you're talking, I'm like I know that he's got a Superman t-shirt on. I did not realize that it has a cape to it. I actually have.
You should have had a fan on. That's where you went wrong.
I should have.
Had I known, I would have dug through the crate in my closet here and pulled out I have an Atlanta Falcons luchador mask that Nate Angle sent me when he was on vacation in Mexico.
That
He
is
was like, I
awesome.
saw this and I knew you had to have it. So he sent it to me while he was on vacation. I'm like, go have fun with your wife. You should not be buying me anything when you're on
Oh,
vacation.
that's
But this was
awesome.
years ago. This was like 2015, 2016. And it's a red and black luchador mask and it has a Falcons logo right in the middle of the forehead. So had I known, I would have put it on. Maybe because it is Halloween, maybe this weekend I do it. But no, I wish I would have known. I would have definitely busted that one out. But I'm like looking and I'm like, what is on his? I thought it was the chair for the longest time. Then you sat forward a little bit more, and I
Yep.
was like,
Nope.
that is
Superman
That's
cape.
amazing.
that is a Superman
I
cape.
like it.
Oh, happy Halloween, people! Happy freaking Halloween.
And happy birthday to you.
Yeah, yeah. I am 37 years old as people are watching this. So yeah. Any other thoughts on Oregon State and Iowa? I mean, I'm taking Iowa to win this, but it is, as Austin said, it is a completely rebuilt car in Iowa, right? Like the only thing that is the
With a bunch of
same,
new parts that got purchased.
yeah, right. Like
Expensive team too.
that's exactly what I was going for. They restored the car, and the only thing that is the same is maybe the shifter looks the same. That's the only piece of the car that looks as everything else. There's some shiny new rims on it that they got from Arizona. There's a
They had to pay really high fees for.
listen,
Lots of
the
markups.
insurance, I'm
Allegedly.
sure alone is not pocket change on this brand new. What kind of car would it be if Iowa was a car, a restored car? What kind of car would it be?
Definitely not a Ferrari.
Yeah, it is not a Ferrari.
I
Damn.
would
How
call
am
it
I
like one of
supposed
those
to
kit
figure
cars
out?
you just make from different
Oh, I
pieces.
think we can end the show on that one. I got
Well,
nothing. I got nothing else after that. But yeah,
one
what would that be?
one thing, the first thing that popped to mind was the again old reference, but the car that Tim Allen on Tool Time restored. I think it was like an old Ford something, but like when I think of old cool restored cars, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But I
Yeah,
think more importantly, both Iowa and South Dakota State will be at the Soldier Salute this year. So that should make for some very exciting potential matchups.
Wow.
should
We'll
be
see. We'll see
fun.
who shows up.
Another fun one at 197.
Yes.
Should be a good time. Should be a very, very good time. But yeah, I'm, taking Iowa. Obviously, I think all of us are taking Iowa and, in this one, but 197 is going to be really, really cool. And then obviously seeing the rest of their lineup and how things pan out with all these new cool toys and new parts that are on this car is going to be really, really cool. But maybe that's a segment that we do. We pick a team and we all figure out what car would that team be? And it'll always be a random team. We'll end the show that way. Random team, what car would that explains that team?
Real quick, Cal State Bakersfield. They're not going to the Soldier Salute.
Mm,
No.
that could have been awesome.
That
If-
would have been. I'd drive a
Is it
Ferrari
too
to
late?
it to watch it. Yeah.
If Soldier Salute knew what they were doing, that would have been the most watched open outside of Midlands and Scuffle that we've seen in a very, very long time because
Be
it
a
would
lot
have
of
been
salutes, but not of the soldier kind.
there was certainly some
Double
salutes.
salutes even.
Yeah, that would have been a good time. That would have been a good time. But yeah, is Cal State and Iowa anywhere, or do any of these teams cross paths throughout the year? We'll have to take a look at that.
I just closed one of them. I don't.
I haven't
I'm
looked
looking
at
at
all
Iowa's
the
schedule.
full schedules to see if they're going to be. The hard part is the opens and stuff and knowing who's going to what opens and what tournaments and stuff like that. But yeah, this is
But does it
I
change
was
anything when Stemmet steals all the emojis? Does that take away some of the allure?
it certainly takes away the trash talk.
Lots of smoke is gone though.
The,
Lots
the
of smoke is gone.
that red car getting retired is going to be tough. Going to be a tough time. That is for
A
sure.
lot on the line.
A lot on the line. Man's whole language could be gone. This year it hasn't even started yet, and there's already so many storylines, So many storylines. Not to say that other years don't, but I think this year in particular, it's a little bit more fun. Little bit. They cranked the dial up. We've got some trash talk coming out of State College. We got some trash talk coming out of California. Two ways coming out of California. So I think it could be a good time. It could definitely be a good time. Are there any other matches happening in any of your respective conferences, any dual meets, or maybe even guys that are going to be at opens that you're looking forward to seeing this weekend?
One thing I wanted to shout out, so before I came on here, so American is hosting Michigan State this Saturday. So I'm excited for that. I know as Borelli's gotten to the program, and they're setting goals, and they're trying to get after Big Ten teams, and they're trying to do what they can to get better. And I was literally just on basically a call with a bunch of their alumni and donors and things like that, and they're talking about the program, some of the facilities they're building. They had their captains on the call talking about why they like being there, what caused them to go to there to begin with, what they've been working on, and just answering some general questions about the state of the union of the team, basically. Their athletic director was on there. I mean, it was a really awesome call, and they really just talked about like they're going to Penn State this year to wrestle them, and they want to like see what they're doing and then do that, right? Like easier said than done. But it really just got me to completely, and they emphasize some of the same things I talked about earlier, right? If you can donate some money towards the programs, help out. If you can't, be there in person and be present. But I'm just really impressed with what they're doing, and over the years what he inherited versus what they, on paper could be this year. So that's one I'm going to be really watching out for, is the results of kind of how that ends up.
Could be fun. Robbie, Austin, anything in your respective conferences that you guys are looking out for at least this weekend?
Go ahead, Robbie.
Virginia Tech, UT Chattanooga are going to duel Friday night, and then most of the ACC teams will have at least some representation, if not their full squad, at the Southeast Open. Shout out to my guys at Roanoke College. The Yets are running the show at the Southeast Open this year. That's going to be a good open. There's going to be some solid matchups there. There's always a fun one to start the year with, but there's going to be some potential really good matchups early on.
Yeah, and Sunday, at least from my end, Princeton Open is usually good. Army, Columbia, Drexel, Hofstra, Lehigh, Lock Haven, Princeton, and Rider, plus a bunch of unattached people. So that should be good. Duel I'm interested in though is Bucknell and Maryland on Sunday. Maryland, pretty tough team, obviously, but Bucknell, top 25 recruiting class in the past 2 years. I think they're pretty underrated. My EIWA preview comes out probably, I think, tomorrow at this point. I talk about Bucknell could potentially be a top 2, maybe top 3 team in the EIWA behind Lehigh, and battling with Army and Navy for that second and third spot. So I like Bucknell a lot. They pull out a win against Maryland. I won't be surprised if they keep it close. I expect it to be close.
I talked to Clemson tomorrow, so I'll let them know you said that.
Yeah, don't tell them that, please.
Don't tell them
that was my second school choice, by the way. Tell them that.
Yeah.
I always had a soft spot for Maryland.
There you go.
Well, there was another guy that went to your school that ended up at Maryland that had his own fan club and his own catchphrase. I believe they said Headlock Sheptalk was.
Sheptalk.
Shout out to Jimmy. He just had his second baby boy a few days ago here. So he's a father of 2, just like me.
Nice.
We're all growing up so fast, guys.
Yeah, it happens. I just keep adding
Wait till you
years
hit
to my
40.
life. I'm 3 years away, literally to the day.
Getting
I'm
there.
3 years away. So, yeah. But no, gentlemen, we will have actual results to speak of next week that I'm really, really looking forward to. But Austin, you said your EIWA preview is coming, so make sure to look out for that. I know there's some interviews with Branch interviews. I think you said you're talking to Clemson, so be on the lookout for those things. I talked to Valenti just the other day about RevShare and how they're approaching it, and I think he was just like so much knowledge that came from him. He put on his admin hat as well as his coaching hat. He also talked about making the transition. The smart guy hat. Yeah. He talked about, making the transition back into being a coach and like all the things that are a little bit different for him as well. So really good conversation that's going to be coming tomorrow morning. So be on the lookout for that. So going into the weekend, plenty of content that is going to be coming. So make sure you guys stay on Intermat. We'll obviously have rankings. We've got gonna have a little bit of high school stuff. I believe Willie will have a little bit of high school stuff for us as well. But then next week we're gonna really start to get into our weekly content. We're gonna have a good bit of things that we've got planned. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for our recaps, for the previews with this show, and then all the other articles and all the other things that are coming, as well as some more coach interviews, some more wrestler interviews. And we'll just be digging in and plugging along as the season goes on. And we'll see you guys again next week.